This episode is brought to you by Snap Guam Studios. Film photography is making a comeback on Island. One of the questions I get ever since I started film photography is where I get my roles developed. Snap Guam is a Guam based photography and videography studio that offers film development and scanning services. They also have a variety of different film stocks like Kodak Gold and my favorite, Portra 800. Want to start getting into film photography? They also sell film cameras from SLRs to rangefinders and disposables. Get your film developed by Snap Guam Studio today. Contact them on Instagram at snap.film.record_gu. Sinky clap. What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the Dust Till Dawn podcast. It's so glad to see y'all. Today, I'm joined by a man who I met in my time in the media. This man is one of the hardest workers I know. He's a local videographer, photographer, and he has many other facets, including being a CrossFit coach. This is STG Filmmaker, otherwise known as Mr. Shane Gillans. Half a day. Thank you for joining us, Shane.
What's happening, man? What's good? Thanks for having me.
Dude, thanks for coming on board.
Yes, sir.
It's different because now we're not we're not working as under that company anymore.
PNC.
Good times, good PTSD times.
No.
It was fun though. Again, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that company. But to go straight into it, man, you go by STG Filmmakers. Where'd that name come from?
STG Filmmakers. That's you would never guess. You would never guess. So my wife's name is Tanya. I'm Shane, by the way. Shane. And so you have Shane and Tanya Gillans.
See, I was wondering where the T came from. I thought that was your...
STG Filmmaker. So she does photos. She does photos, and then I do the video stuff. So back in 2016, when we started getting interested in videos and shooting photos and stuff, we just kind of came up with that on the fly. And it wasn't like no LLC or nothing back then. It was just kind of a hobby back then.
Right.
So it kind of turned into a business when I finally retired from the Army, and we just kind of made it a serious thing.
And her ad on Instagram is Photos in Paradise, right?
Paradise I think Barbell's in Paradise. Hold on, man. Y'all gonna have to make cuts early in this.
No, this Rush, Tanya, he don't know. Put him in the doghouse.
No, man. No, you guys could check out Pictures in Paradise, man, and you'll see all her photos there.
And they're dope photos. And
yeah.
I mentioned briefly, we're going to get into the filmmaking stuff, but you also do CrossFit, right? You're also a coach?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you do your day job, whatever your day job is. I know you're transferring to a different place soon. And you do filmmaking and you coach CrossFit. How's that? And you have a family. How's that schedule like for you?
It's hectic. You just got to play every day as it happens, you know. Well, with the CrossFit stuff, I normally have a set schedule, so I coach at like 9 in the morning, and I kind of do my own programming after that for myself because I'm training for Olympic weightlifting. So hopefully by next year around this time, I should be prepping for what's called the South Pacific Games. So
oh snap!
Yeah, so hopefully I'll be able to qualify for that. And so that's kind of what I've been on recently. So if anyone's been following any one of my feeds, I've been mostly focusing on just my strength and conditioning so I could qualify for that next year.
Dang, dude. And so how is it like? So CrossFit, that schedule's pretty much ironed out. But sometimes I see you up at like 11 at night, 1 in the morning, editing music video or wedding video. And then back in PNC day, sometimes I'll have you call in at like 8 in the morning. How's it like? And you have a whole ass family. How's that working out?
Like I said, you got to play every day as it happens, man. You know, whenever I do have like a wedding or a music video or some sort of corporate shoot, it's normally something that I can just kind of punch out really quickly. You know what I mean? So I go in for the shoot. It takes about 2 or 3 hours. And then on the back end, I could take about another maybe 4 hours to do the edit. So it's just a matter of like sitting down in front of the computer and just forcing myself to plug away at it. You know what I mean? Yeah,
that's something I need to do. Prior to the podcast, we were talking. I was like, man, I'm the biggest hypocrite I know.
So I have a workflow. You know what I mean? So when I come back from shooting anything, I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's my family and we're out at Matapang Beach, for example. I will come back and I will take the SD card out of my cameras and I will upload it into my computer. And then I will format the SD cards before I even think about editing it. they'll be in separate folders with dates on them and everything. So the main thing is being super organized. That way, when you go back into the computer, you know exactly where to go and there's no confusion. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's something I need to do. I'm very bad at that. I edit the podcast. Like, I edit these things. We go live Sunday at noon, but I edit them Sunday at 8 in the morning.
Hey, man, if that's what works for you, that's what's working. You know, you got to do what works. I do. And here's the thing, too. You don't have a family.
I don't.
Just yet.
No,
right?
no.
Just yet. So, when you have a family, man, a lot of your stuff needs to come a little bit more structured, or else you just don't do it. You know
right.
I mean? Yeah.
And the producer is just looking at me like, really? You do that? You do that? I told y'all I wasn't a very good student, but no, and that's some notes I need to take up because, like, prior to in previous podcasts, I'd be telling people, "Oh, you all got time to do what you want to do. You can find time to do, whatever you. If you're interested in it, you'll find the time to do it." I have an interest in videography, photography, but I'm still very, very, very lazy. So that's stuff that I need to do into my own life because, like, I'll be like, "Oh, where did I put that footage? Where did I put that photo?"
Yeah,
I had this banger shot, and I'm like, "Wait, which hard drive is it?" And I don't have a NAS yet. I'm like, "Ah, snap! I need to archive everything." But speaking of archive, I met you. Shout out Cream Butter. They cut my hair. Prior to us joining PNC, I was like, "This guy when you came on board, I'm like, why does this guy look familiar?" Oh, snap! He was shooting a music video at Cream Butter. When did you start shooting? I knew you more for shooting music videos.
Who was I shooting for? Justin, I think.
Forgot.
Yeah, shooting for Justin.
You were doing putt. They had a mini golf course inside the barber shop, and they were doing putts.
Yeah. Shooting for Justin at the time. Justin, shout out. But he was a really good singer, man, and it's a real privilege to be able to work with him on that project.
That's dope. But how did you start shooting? Because I know you more as a music video shooter, more so than obviously a lot of us get into the world of weddings just because it's easy money.
Yeah.
But music videos, that's something I don't ever want to do. I tried to shoot one just for a personal project, and that was hell. Like trying to sync everything up. So how did you get your start in it? And like, why do you keep shooting music videos?
I like music. So that's my first passion is music. I really like music. And, I grew up in my teenage years, I grew up in the 90s, so a lot of my stuff, a lot of my content that I used to consume was like the Hype Williams music videos and stuff like that. And so when I started to watch Hype Williams do music videos and how he turned them into movies, essentially. And then he came out with Belly. I don't, if you guys know Belly with DMX, all them.
I know DMX.
Yeah, so he actually directed a full-blown movie. You guys could check out Belly. And so that was Hype Williams, who was a music video director who ended up bleeding over into Hollywood and started making actual films and stuff.
Dang. So when did you get your start into it? I know you said that's the inspiration, but like when did you start? I guess not just music videos. When did you start shooting? Becoming a filmmaker in general, because you said you were in the Army previously. Did this passion pick up then, or was it after you retired?
It picked up when I was selling my Audi 2005 S5, and I was trying to sell it, right? And I was like, man, I need to really like sell this like really quick. And so at the time, I had a Note 3. Something like that. It was a Samsung Note 2 or Note 3. And this is like right as like phones were starting to get decent at shooting video. And so I was like, why don't I just shoot my vehicle, my Audi, but in like a cinematic sequence. But I didn't call it that then because that really wasn't a thing back then. I'm like, let me shoot deliberate shots of my Audi, me getting in the Audi, the car trick. Because here's what you don't find when you like trying to sell cars. You don't see the car actually working anywhere. It's just like pictures. Right. So I'm like, let me sell my car on YouTube and let me make a nice little sequence of my car, of the engine running and it actually driving down the street and stuff like that. And it sold in like 3 days.
Dang.
And I got so many comments on that YouTube video, like, this is the best, like, sales video I've ever seen for a car. Because, bro, this is like 2000, I want to say 13, something like that. So like 11 years ago. Yeah.
How much you sell it for?
I can't remember, man. I think it was like 12 or something. But
dang.
The main takeaway that I got from that was what I learned from doing that was I really enjoyed the process of actually doing deliberate shots, which is what a cinematic sequence is. It's taking shots that, look funny behind the scenes. It's like, what are you guys doing? This looks weird. But then in the end, it comes out into a movie. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I followed Shane recently. What were we shooting? Skyline
Yeah.
GTR, was it? I forgot.
Yeah, the R34.
R34.
Yeah.
The only one on Guam, left right hand drive.
Yeah, Mark.
Yeah. And a lot of the scenes, a lot of behind the scenes on each shot.
Yeah.
Man, we look dumb doing it. I recently shot a video from my homegirl who got married. We couldn't go to her wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was trying to make it cinematic. I'm like, okay, guys. That's why I borrowed your ND filter. So I was like, okay, guys, I want y'all to walk into the frame and then it'll be nice. We'll get this creamy book in the background.
Perfect, yeah.
Yeah, and then they're like, one of my homies like, I freaking hate you filmmakers, man. You gotta make us work hard. You know how stupid we look? We're at Two Lovers Point.
For the shot.
I said, do it for the shot, man. You know how dope this is? But then, so you're a car guy, but I don't really see a lot of cars anymore. Is that just because like you want to focus more so on music?
The cars is kind of like Mo, right? Shout out Mo. Me and Mo grew up in our early 20s messing with cars a lot. So I had an Accord, and he had he had all kinds of cars.
I know.
He used to wreck them all, but he had a Rex, 89 Rex SI, and then he ended up wrecking that, and then that's a whole nother story. It's a whole nother podcast.
We'll get him on.
But then he ended up getting the 87 Rex, which is all carbon. It's not even. It's like fiberglass. Like the car, if you got into an accident, it would just like crumble into 1,000 pieces. That's how like cheap this car was. Like I don't know if you guys seen like an 87 CRX, but it's just literally made out of plastic. And so he had that with a B16 engine swap in it. And this is a motor that originally went into a 99 Honda Civic SI. So it was a racing motor essentially in like an old like 1,200 pound 87 CRX with crappy suspension, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good. So me and him were always into cars, into just like stripping down cars, trying to get them to be as light as possible so they could fly down the track faster and stuff like that. So it was like an older passion of mine.
I think one of my favorite videos of you and Mo together is y'all racing on the Jigo Raceway before it got shut down in your minivans.
Oh no, that wasn't me.
That wasn't you?
No, I wasn't racing my minivan. I think he was.
What were you in? Or was
I wasn't in nothing. I was never racing down that track.
I'm just like, because both of y'all have a lot of matching stuff. Y'all were rocking Black Magic Cinema 4Ks. Y'all were matching GH5s. Shout out Mo. He has my GH5. He gave me the Black Magic. So I'm just like, I'm like, oh snap! Y'all be
that's my
twinning
road
for
dog.
real.
Man, a lot of people here don't know. Like that was my original road dog from Georgia.
Dang.
So this is from like 2003, 2002, somewhere around there.
Right.
When I first met him.
Dang, dude. I know you're the one who convinced him to shoot Black Magic, but because he's not from here. Were you want to convince him to come here? Or was it?
No, I think he came here just because his wife, got orders to come here, military. And, he obviously remembered I was from here. So at the time, I was still, finishing my time in the Army. And then when I finally came here, he was already here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So both of y'all, videographers, filmmakers, right? The one question, and in my last episode, I was talking about how just being an entrepreneur, no matter what business venture you're going to get through, saturated already. Now you take a creative field like photography, videography. Do you think it's oversaturated? I tell people it is, but it's not. Like I tell people there's enough room to eat. But do you think it is in your line of, because you've done this longer than me. I've only started like 3 years.
No, it's not because everyone's lazy. So the reason why it's not saturated is because everyone, yes, they do have a camera and they out shooting photos and stuff. But I guarantee you could think of 10 or 12 IG accounts that used to exist that used to shoot photos and videos, and you don't even see them anymore. It's only like 1 or 2 that kind of stick out and keep on. So for every 10 photographers you see running around with a camera, only one's going to actually do something. So it's not oversaturated.
Do you think that in like globally or just here in Guam?
Yeah, I mean Guam, but everywhere.
to bring it all the way in here, because like you said, everyone has like a camera, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like everywhere I go, there's like I'll be at the mall, someone's shooting on a T3i, or oh my gosh, I'll be jealous. One of my homies got an R6 Mark II.
Nice camera.
It's dope, but I'm like, give it to me, because like, well, I'm like, part of me still thinks like, there's a lot of us with a camera, man. Like, do you think that
There isn't. I don't think there is.
Do you think so?
I don't think
Everywhere I
there
go,
is.
there's someone
I
shooting.
think it's because we're in the space. It's almost like, let's say you go out right now and buy a Mazda Miata.
Can't fit in them.
You go out, okay, you can't fit. Okay, let's put you in a let's put you in a Toyota Tundra.
Okay,
A Toyota Tundra.
that's huge, but yeah.
Now, right now, as you think, that I don't really see too many Toyota Tundras around right now. But as soon as you buy it, everybody's got a Toyota Tundra. Everybody. So right now, you're just in the space of, photography, video. And so every time you're out, you see a guy with a camera. You wouldn't even have seen him if you weren't into videos and stuff like that. You would just walk right by him. But because you're into it, then you see the guy.
That's true.
So I don't really think that, there's too many guys running around with cameras. And even if there is, like I said, half of them are too lazy anyway. They're just kind of messing around. It's just a hobby for them.
I didn't think about it like that. Because to me, it was more so like, everyone keeps saying it's saturated. The way I looked at it was like, I think if it is saturated, then if your work is actually pretty good, then it's going to stand out regardless of it being saturated. Shoot, people have been taking photos for how many years? People have been writing books for how many years? If you're good at it, it's going to stand out eventually. But do you think it's a combination of both? Because I tell people I don't have talent. I'm just hardworking.
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Like, I think you can outwork people too. I don't know. I think there's also an element of luck that people don't really talk about. It's just sheer luck. People never talk about that. But like, your photo could get in front of somebody and my photo is better, but it never got in front of the photos that you got your photos in front of. And then your account ended up blowing up and you ended up kind of making it like that. But my photos are actually better. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get. Like, in previous podcasts, I talk about how me getting that news director title was very much right place, right time.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have gotten that title. That's why I identify as a journalist, but not that. But I tell people too, it's like luck is really, or like it's opportunity meets hard work. That's when luck will be on your side. Because like I could get lucky and someone hires me for a wedding and they're like, oh, we'll pay you like $6,000. I'm like, okay, dope. But they don't like my photos.
Mm-hmm.
They'll still pay me, but like they'll never hire me again. And they'll shoot. We're on Guam where the mouth goes far. Mm-hmm. So I think in a sense, like, yeah, I got paid that one good gig pretty good, but then I wasn't ready for it. So now.
At the same time, I don't think they would have dropped $6,000 unless they seen previous work of yours.
Right.
And
But stroke of like, that's why I'm talking like this big stroke of massive luck. Like it could be like $2,000, could be $1,000. Just shoot. One podcast, I was justifying me charging $1,500 for a full day wedding, but people are like, that's expensive. I'm like, no, it's not. That's an 8-hour day. Mm-hmm. And then I got to go home, edit the photos. You're not, plus all my equipment too. You're not taking that into account. So I'm just like, just justifying $1,000. I'm like, oh my God. So that leads me to the next question. How do you justify your prices? Like, how did you get into this monetization of like your work?
Invoices. So all my invoices have everything that I'm going to be expected to do. Right. And it also has the camera rental fees. It has everything in the invoice. And so I have an itemized invoice that lays out specifically what I'm going to be doing, who I'm bringing, what camera equipment I'm bringing, what extra lighting equipment I'm bringing. And so when they see all that, you kind of want to like, you want to oversensitize the whole invoice and make it seem like it's too much for them to read. I'm just being honest with you.
No,
when you see all this stuff and you're the person who's supposed to be approving the invoice, it almost seems like it's too much. And then when they see the price, they're like, "Oh, okay, well that's actually cheap."
That's
So
reasonable.
look at all this stuff that he's going to be doing. You know, he's giving me a 60-second deliverable MP4. He's also giving me 2 revisions. He's also giving me, you know, a photographer that's going to be on set all day doing behind the scenes stuff. He's also giving me 2 stories, which are in vertical format. He's giving me, you know, all that stuff. He's also giving me a 30-second draft. So, you know, we can both sit down and take a look at the draft. So he's giving me all these things. And he's only charging me $1,200, a measly $1,200. So $1,200 seems very, very much affordable and realistic. When you have a actual paperwork that's backing it up, then it's just like, hi, I'm here to shoot your videos with my hat backwards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So that's you now, but there was a setup getting into that.
yeah.
What was like? Because what's a horror story you have of like, okay, this is my price, but they're like, I don't see you. Could be like 600, could be 700, whatever the price it could be. But you had to just before you got to itemizing and showing, making this work for you, your current workflow and how you justify your pricing. What was the road leading up to that?
So I'm very realistic. So when I wasn't invoicing and I wasn't giving them the proper information, I already knew I wasn't doing my due diligence. So I wasn't charging $1,200. I was only charging $650. So I'm just kind of self-aware as to what I'm doing in the space. And then I just make my pricing based off of where I'm currently at. You know what I mean? So back then when I was first starting, I wasn't even a real business back then. I don't even think I had a business license when I first was getting started. And so that right there is a big tick already. I don't have a business license. I don't need to be charging these guys $1,200, $1,500. I don't even have a business license. And so once I got a business license, I started to really like kind of step. It was kind of like right when we started leaving PNC.
Yeah.
That's when I started the LLC, right? And so when I started the LLC, we good on? Okay. Yeah, when I started the LLC, I was like, that's it. I just like pretty much doubled all my prices at that point.
Right, because now you can justify. Because I know.
Now in my head, I can justify, not just to them.
Right.
But in my head, I can justify. And when I'm speaking to them with more confidence too. You know what I mean? So if I give them an invoice, I'm handing it to them with confidence. Yeah, right. Like I just did the 3 spas that are in Riga, Hilton, and Nico. So the spa, Ualam or whatever it is.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
So these are all Japanese owners. They kind of like barely speak English, but they know what should be on an invoice and what shouldn't. So when I gave them the invoice, it only took 3 hours for them to run it up the chain and run it back down, and it was approved in 3 hours.
Dang.
You know what I mean? So these are 3 60-second videos with 30 stills images.
All edited.
For 3 separate spas.
And they're all edited images. And
mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because a story I have recently, I shot interior and some exterior shots for Tsubaki. But we did a trade deal.
Tsubaki. Yeah.
Tsubaki, yeah. We did a trade deal because I don't have a business license yet. But that's why I'm a freelancer, all right? I don't identify as a business.
Don't be paying them more than $650.
We got workarounds, but you know, like, so we were working on a trade deal. So I got a room there, good for a year. So I'm like, okay, I'm saving it for my birthday. But you know, that was one thing. They're like, we want to hire you again, but we don't want to just do a trade. Like, how do you justify a trade? You know what I mean? Because the room could go up depending on the season. It could be like, if it's Christmas season, it could be like a $500 deal.
It's all about the business license.
Yeah. So
if you don't have it, you're out there and you're just not speaking right. You know what I mean? You're just not. You can't.
Right.
It's impossible. You can't speak correctly.
So even if, let's say you had all the invoicing properly, you know, I'm working on that one too. I'm working like just getting draft invoice formulas for Excel that I follow, like from YouTubers I follow, whichever one I like the most. But do you think that business license, like you said, it gave you that confidence to be like, I know what I'm giving you is worth X amount of dollars?
I even send my business license with the proposal.
Real.
That just gives me a little bit of extra ammunition. It's like, I give you this. I'm telling you exactly what you're expecting me to do. What I'm expecting from you to me. That's important too. Don't just give like a corporation what you're expected to do for them. I need I need to know what you're supposed to do for me too. So you're supposed to go out and get the models. You're supposed to be directing the shoot because it's your vision. I'm not doing all that. You know, so if
that's a higher price.
Yeah. So if they come and they're like, oh, this guy's expecting us to do this for him, and this is what this is what we're expecting for him to do for us. It's kind of like it's very professional at that point.
Dang.
You know.
So what was like? Did you have any prior to you getting your business license? Prior to all that, what was like one horror story you had? I'm assuming you have, because a lot of freelancers have that, where they're like one client they want to pay or whatever.
Not really.
Real. So you were you were iron tight from the beginning.
No, I wouldn't say I was iron tight. I just what I mean by that is I played within my realm.
What do you mean by
like my pricing? I played within my pricing as for whatever I knew I was going to bring to the table. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of people that say gear doesn't matter, but it actually does. Because if I show up on set with 2 Reds versus 2 M50s, I'm going to come with a different energy.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I'm here with 2 Reds. Like, what do you guys need me to do? I'm here to work.
You know,
versus I got this M50. I pull it out of my back pocket, you know, with a 24 pancake. You know,
shout out to my M50 shooting all these podcasts. Hey, man.
No, but you get what I'm saying, yeah. All right? Like, that, it puts you in a different vibe. It really does.
No, I feel, oh my gosh, I did a shoot with the Black Magic, and I felt confident going in there. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is worth whatever they were I charged them at the time, you know.
$650.
It's a little more than that, but I ran it through my friend's business license, but that's a workaround. But you know, I went up in there, and then it gives the client too some kind of confidence, right? Because I go in there with the cinema camera. I don't have an easy rig, so that's why my back's kind of big, but like
swole.
It's stick with 3 C's, but I walk in there with the cinema camera, you know, looking all professional and stuff. But really, I'm shooting everything at 1080p, and so can my M50, and arguably it's better in other things. But that's why I rig out the M50 with like a bigger lens, and like I shoot it with like a big monopod, so it looks more expensive, right? But I get what you mean, though. Like it really is a different energy. That's why I'm like, I tell people gear doesn't really matter, but to an extent it does, especially when you're trying to be a business, being in a business, because you want to deliver high quality stuff, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you're experienced, maybe 3, 4, 5 years in the game, then the extra equipment will definitely be advantageous for you. But if you're brand new, like you're just in your first year, you don't even have a business yet, then the gear will be a hindrance for you, because it'll kind of put a fake veil over your eyes, because you think that you're doing something that you're not really even doing yet. You know what I mean? So let's say I just started filmmaking last year, and someone gave me a Red Epic 6K or something like that, or a Red Dragon 6K or something like that, I would come into, I would have like a fake kind of like a notion or fake energy about me just because it's a red. Yeah. But I really don't know what I'm doing yet. But I think I know what I'm doing just because I have a red. That's
right.
Not the, yeah. So, I mean, I would definitely just kind of mess around with affordable cameras and just learn the process of lighting, just learning your basic photography stuff, and then do that for a couple years.
And I wholeheartedly agree with you, because part of the podcast you're giving me some pointers too, and you know that's something I really want to talk about, and we'll go into a little more detail right after this quick break.
Oh, that was smooth. That was smooth.
This episode is brought to you by Snap Guam Studios. Film photography is making a comeback on Island. One of the questions I get ever since I started film photography is where I get my roles developed. Snap Guam is a Guam-based photography and videography studio that offers film development and scanning services. They also have a variety of different film stocks like Kodak Gold and my favorite, Portra 800. Want to start getting into film photography? They also sell film cameras from SLRs to rangefinders and disposables. Get your film developed by Snap Guam Studio today. Contact them on Instagram at snap.film.record_gu. This episode is brought to you by D-Day Studios. D-Day Studios is a local photography and videography service run by, well, me. And this is my podcast, so shameless plug. Be sure to follow me on Instagram at D-Day Studio 670 and send me a message if you want to take some bomb photos today. Again, that is D-Day Studio 670 on Instagram. Now back to the episode.
All right, welcome back from the break. We are very, very relaxed right now. Right before the break, we were talking about...
Relaxed.
I'm chilling.
He's relaxed.
I'm straight chilling. So,
Got us mixing darks and lights. You know, we can't mix darks and lights.
Stay tuned to the Patreon to learn more about what that means. But before the break, we were talking about how in the beginning gear does not necessarily matter. So Shane, you mentioned how you started off actually shooting your old Audi with your old cell phone, your old Samsung, and to bring it back to Mo, I think he said he shot a concert or something like that, like a
He
video.
started on a cell phone too.
Yeah, an iPhone 7, I think. So, and one of the YouTubers we follow, a Potato Jet, he was always talking about how one video is like, to bring it back to your earlier point, old gear, like gear where it doesn't give you the best performance, forces you to learn, forces you to be creative, because now you have to learn how lighting affects certain settings, how this lens might not be the best, but you can pull the best out of this lens depending on your lighting scenario, your depth of field, how you set up the scenery and control your variables. Can you go into more detail about that one?
So I think, and I really don't have any like data that I can break out and show anybody this, but like even you guys know here, like you see what cameras I'm shooting on.
Oh yeah,
I'm shooting on 12-year-old cameras.
And 12-year-old cinema camera.
Yeah, and so when I first started, my goal was to get the latest and greatest camera. Not because I wanted to like go out and flex it necessarily, but just because I just felt like I needed to be in the latest and greatest for whatever reason. And I think the reason why I wanted to do that is because of all the content I consumed on YouTube, to be honest with you. And so like all the stuff I was watching on YouTube, it would always be something about the latest this or the latest that. And so it kind of just primed my mind to be more inclined to go out and purchase that. But as I started to kind of like get a little bit more experience with cameras and be more comfortable with my expertise, and not in just cinematography, but in directing as well, I didn't feel like I needed those cameras anymore. You know, like the 4K and the 6K and the 8Ks were kind of like, that's not really important. Like I was just thinking, this is what's going on in my head. Like old directors from back in the late 80s weren't worrying about 4K or 6K. And look at the movies that are iconic. Look at Scarface, you know, look at Heat. Look at all these movies that we go back and watch time after time after time again. None of those were shot on 4K, 8K. They were shot on just 35 millimeter film cameras, you know? So, I mean, I'm not saying everyone go out and shoot on 35 millimeter film cameras. What I am saying is that there are some cameras that exist that you can spend just $400 or $500 on and get virtually everything that the brand new cameras have still.
Right. No, and I agree, man. And a lot of people don't take into consideration, like if you're buying a 6K, 8K, an R5C, R5, Canon R5, whatever, there's more expenses that go into that too. Like storage is one thing, shoot. SD cards are expensive just to run that. And then you need a strong computer, you need a strong machine to process the images, the photos, the videos, whatever, just to do that, right? So you're spending more than just on the camera. Like I think the camera's a cheaper part, honestly. But you're right though, because the Canon M50 shoots 4K, but I find myself when I was using your C300 that's shooting your angle, I was like, whoa, this image is dope, man. And it's an older camera.
It's not really about resolution, is it?
It's not.
Like I've seen resolution from cameras like the old school Alexa.
Yeah.
Just the old school Alexa 1080.
I think Potato Jet bought a really old one.
That thing like blows any camera I've seen away.
And Alexa still shoots 1080.
Any K.
Yeah.
12K, the Ursa Mini 12K,
Yeah.
that old Alexa 1080 blows that thing away.
Yeah.
It's probably more about dynamic range more than anything, and it's more about color rendition, color accuracy.
Right.
I think that's probably more important, like the Blackmagics that me and you talked about shooting on earlier. While I love the look of the Blackmagic, those aren't accurate colors.
Nah.
Those that's an artistic color. It's like more warm, right? More brown, but like the more skin tony stuff or the earth tony stuff. But that's not how you see life.
Right.
You know?
But, and to go into that too, like a lot of people get caught up in the camera brand, but they don't realize, and I think you mentioned this in the past too, you're not loyal to a camera brand, even though we both shoot. It helps that we both shoot Canon because we can just borrow each other's stuff. But you go with whatever you like, whatever image you find is pleasing to your eye. Because at the end of the day, it's a creative choice too.
Yeah, it's true.
Right? Like, again, like, I'm more of like, I think that's dope. If I can get that on this camera and it's cheaper, I'm gonna get that on this. Do I want new stuff? I think we all, if we had a limited budget, if we had FU money, yeah, we don't get me wrong.
That Fujifilm X-H2S looks
Oh,
dope.
the Hasselblad too. I'm just like, oh my god.
That Fujifilm is.
Oh my gosh.
That looks dope. And I've been tempted to hit the, put it in the shopping cart for that particular camera, but I don't know. The C300 for me right now is where it's at.
Right. And I found myself missing. I bought a 5D. Remember, I had a 5D Mark II. Shoot, they shot an episode of House all in a 5D Mark II. That thing didn't have stabilization. That thing didn't have jack squat. It only shot in 24 frames at, I think, 1080. But it was like ahead of its time when it first came out. I missed that camera. I love the M50.
So get you that.
But I
Get
miss
you
it.
one of those.
Nah, man.
Get you one of those. Put some magic lantern on there.
Nah.
No?
That's too much work. Well, I'll get the Mark III because it shoots SD cards.
How about the M5?
Canon M5?
The M5. Put the M5? And put magic lantern on there, shooting raw 8K, 6K.
Man, I think my laptop will burn if I shoot that.
I don't think so. I think the bit rate isn't really.
Is it? Man, I don't even shoot 4K on the M50. Dude. I have a Blackmagic Cinema and I shoot 1080.
Well, it shoots in 12-bit too. You can shoot 12-bit 1080.
I don't even color grade my vlogs, man. Like, what am I gonna do with that?
Hey, I'm just giving you options.
And I appreciate it, but
I'm here to give you options.
But I'm the laziest. I'm like Mo, man. I'm the laziest filmmaker you'll ever meet, dude. Like, if I could not do it in post, if I could get the color. A lot of people think that you just edit it in post, but I think if you do the hard work now, it saves you in the long run, right? So I'm one of those guys. Like,
So
if
don't shoot anything then.
No, shoot on the iPhone.
If you're that lazy, don't shoot nothing.
I'm not
Just go to sleep.
I'm not that lazy, man.
Oh, you one of them lazy people I'm talking about? You one of them lazy?
I ain't that lazy. I think one of my first memories of you, I think too, when you were shooting on the PNC our camcorders, you're like, man, give me that camera. I'll make anything cinematic. Next thing I know, one of the stories you're shooting on, you slow mode homeboy walking down the cemetery, and I was like, man, you didn't have to go and do all that.
That actually got me like really interested in camcorders. So I went down like a whole camcorder, I guess, sort of rabbit hole for a few months. When I first started using those camcorders, I was like, man, this 7SU from Sony. That camcorder is actually really good.
Is that one was that the one we were using?
7SU, yeah.
I didn't get the brand.
And, I got into looking like the old camcorders and stuff too, because they have the servo zooms.
Yeah, isn't that what we were using for your BTS?
I think so, yeah. So like the servo zooms is what really turned me on to them, because I was like, I just hate zooming in.
Yeah,
and then it's like you could just see all the movement in the camera as you're zooming in. This is just like a button.
Yeah.
And it's variable, so you could barely squeeze it. It barely zooms, and you could squeeze it and it zooms in fast. Like that's why I'm looking at the FS7 now. The Sony FS7s, yeah.
No, man, stay low to Canon. I know we were talking about not being low.
No, the FS7s I'm really looking at those right now.
I was looking at the FX30, man, because I was just like,
no, I ain't got no servo zoom.
But
ain't got no servo zoom.
It's small.
Huh?
Small. So
nah, I need big. It's all about the size.
No,
you
man.
Know what I'm saying?
It's about how you use it, man. Clearly. Hey, if you get what we're saying, man, you're dirty, dude. Love you, fans. All like 10 of you who watch this. But to get into that, into your recording, right? We were talking about earlier how I can't really complain about, like, I know I say I'm lazy, right? But like I said in the beginning, I'm like, man, I'll just shut up about being lazy unless I'm down to joke around with Shane. Because I'll be like, oh, I don't want to edit this video. I don't want to edit this vlog. Prior to the podcast, the first half, you're talking about how you have a backlog of footage of vlogs. So if you do have, like, if you want to take some time off, you have something to post. And it's a lot of your CrossFit stuff. Like, how did you get into that? Like, where you're just like, okay, I'm just going to hit record. I'm just gonna do this now? How did you come up with the archival footage?
For the CrossFit stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I already knew I was like we kind of alluded to earlier. I'm trying to train for something for next year for the games, and so I already knew that was going to take more of my time than what I was already delegating to working out previously. Even more time was going to be delegated to that, and so I just figured that let me go ahead and make a temporary shift towards filming that process of me gaining strength and conditioning and getting ready for the South Pacific Games for next year. And let me go ahead and put my STG filmmaker stuff kind of on hold because I'm not going to be able to do both.
Right.
And being realistic is kind of the key towards being successful in anything, because if you could come out with a more realistic viewpoint on what you can accomplish and what you can't accomplish, then I think you'll be able to be more happy with your results. You know what I mean? Because if you be like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. Well, if you can only do this, then you're going to feel unaccomplished. But if at the beginning you could go, well, I'm not going to have time for this and this. So let me go ahead and put these two things on the back. I'm not saying forget about them completely, but let me put them on the back burner and focus on this. That way, when I do that and I'm successful at it, I feel more fulfilled. You know what I mean? So when I'm shooting my CrossFit stuff now, my Olympic weightlifting stuff, I feel super fulfilled. I don't feel like I'm failing at STG filmmakers. I feel like I'm succeeding at going to the South Pacific Games.
Right. No, and I feel you because like this podcast, making the videos, right? It's kind of scratched the itch for me because I miss making vlogs.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, man, I said I don't color grade my vlogs. Like I do a little bit every now and then, but I miss
You put them Peter McKinnon.
Again, I'm not shy being a Peter McKinnon fanboy.
Peter McKinnon filters on there.
Yeah, I should have worn his ring.
That's what Don considers color grading. Putting Peter McKinnon filters on there.
I put them LUTs on. I should have. I told you I got his ring, but you know, like I miss making videos, right? So I'm like, I don't want to. For me, it's like, okay. I said it. You got to find. That's why I say I'm the biggest hypocrite. Right? I love making videos, but I'm like, I don't want to do this right now. So I'm like, okay, what can I do that requires the least amount of effort from me, but produces the most value? So I'm like, making these podcasts, like just making the cuts, and then like
it does it for you.
It scratches the itch, and then now I find myself making short reels again. I'm like, okay, here we go. Like you said, you don't abandon STG filmmakers because every now and then you'll post something. You could relate it. Mm-hmm. You know, like now I'm finding myself making short reels that I need to finish up to promote the podcast, or like making like what do you call that? Photo walks, like documenting that and posting it, even though it doesn't get as many views, as many likes. It's like. Now I find myself like, okay, I'm back in the groove, you know, like it helps scratch that itch. Like I said, like we were talking about, like you're still being a filmmaker. You just transition more so towards this niche that you're doing. Right. Mm-hmm. And to go more into that niche, some people want to talk about like, cause you're a coach for CrossFit. How did that process get about? And how did you obviously have a thing for fitness. You, even when in our time in PNC, I would see you bring the big lunchbox, the igloo, not even lunchbox, man, the cooler into the newsroom. Just like, holy crap, this guy's taking it seriously. So how did that all come about?
I think all of that comes from Army. It might come from, I can't really say specifically where it comes from, but I've kind of been into fitness my whole life. You know what I mean? So like from 15, I can remember rolling around on the mats with people here on Guam when Fuckeye was first getting started. So I was a really big MMA guy when I was 15, 16, 17, and stuff like that.
So you did like jits and stuff like that?
Yeah. So like when ground fighting first started taking off here on the island, I was really into that. And so I remember training every night, doing 1,000 squats and doing sprints up and down the road, down on Woodstick Road. That's where the trainer used to be. And then we used to like roll all night afterwards. And so a lot of that still has to do with fitness, you know. Maybe I didn't call it fitness back then, but a lot of my other background comes from breakdancing. So I used to just breakdance like just all day and all night, you know.
You gotta send me some footage of that. I can't wait to
No,
send
we
that.
ain't got no footage of
You
that,
ain't
bro.
got
Nah,
shoot.
no. So yeah, I used to do a lot of breakdancing, and
I thought this is the PNC crew.
this is in Sacramento. So a
Dang.
lot of breakdancing back in Chaos. Probably never heard of them, but it's called
No.
Crazy Hip Hop and Old School back in Cali.
I don't even know Beastie Boys, man.
Yeah, you didn't know who Belly was. So,
No.
So
No, I don't even got your
yeah.
reference.
So to answer your question, fitness is, I think it's always been just kind of there in the background, and I think it's just kind of stayed with me throughout my entire time, and I think that noticing how the difference between people who are my age and looking at people who are my age now and seeing the difference kind of really it drives that fact home. You know what I mean? Because when I look at other 43-year-olds, they don't really look like me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I'm not saying I'm like the best looking dude, but a lot of 43-year-olds, they look like really old. You know, I don't think I look that old. You know what I mean?
No,
So,
man, you could have told me you're in your late 30s. I believe you.
yeah. So I mean, I think as I start to get older and I start to see the difference between other people that are my age, it really drives home the fact that, fitness, nutrition, like all that shit's kind of important. It makes a difference. You know what I mean?
No, I believe you, man. And I just started my journey too, and I'm just like,
Oh yeah,
oh,
I see that. Yeah.
and I'm like, oh dang.
You posting up, I walked down the street. You posted that.
I waddle.
You know?
I waddle.
I walked to the store
instead
of drove.
I walk
No,
to
that's where
Wendy's.
it starts, though. You
Oh
gotta
yeah.
start, yeah.
I tell people like, like I said this in I think the first or second podcast. Like, really, it's not just like fitness. It's like anything. Like, you can do baby steps. Like, okay, today I'm going to spend like 10 minutes editing a video. It could be complete dog water, whatever. But now you're like, okay, I'm dedicating 10 minutes. Next thing you know, you'll find 20 minutes. You'll find 30 minutes. Eventually, it's going to compound over time. But the one thing I wanted to really hone in on, too, because like to talk about the entrepreneur aspect.
English.
Sorry, dude. I'm from Saipan.
English.
My accent. I majored in English in
Nice
college.
coming out now.
So how did the monetization of obviously we mentioned you're a coach, but how did you get into like you getting paid to do CrossFit, you getting paid to teach, like even though you're getting paid to exercise, because as a coach you're still exercising with your students, with your clients,
So a lot of it's like I do one-on-ones too. So if individuals CrossFit is very intimidating from the outside looking in.
Oh, yeah.
So if you are on the outside and you walk into a CrossFit gym, it could be intimidating. So one of the main things I like to do is approach people and give them an option to do foundations, because that gives them an opportunity just to see what sort of movements they're going to be expected to do before we even do them. You know what I mean? So, that's like a 2-day process.
Right.
So we'll just barely do like air squats. We'll go over air squats, just basic fundamental stuff, just getting down, getting up, burpees, doing jump rope, regular jump rope, getting underneath a bar with no weights on it, just seeing what that feels like.
Right. And if you want a quick shameless plug, you want to see a lot of that in Shane's 101, you can watch Life and Balance on Science and Media Group's YouTube channel with Jeanette Sampson. You can see that one. Free plug right there. So how did you get about to getting paid for it? Like, did you just wake up one day and I'm going to teach CrossFit?
Well, the original owners were friends of mine from high school.
And you want to mention, the name of your gym, just so.
Yeah, CrossFit Laddystone.
There we go.
Yeah, so at CrossFit Laddystone, when I originally got back to the island in 2018, a lot of the guys that were a lot of the ownership has changed since that time. But the original owner, I was a childhood friend with. So I just kind of came back and linked up with him. And I was already a level 1 trainer at that time from Fort Bragg, where I retired at. So it was pretty easy to get into that role. It wasn't really like, a process. It was kind of one of those, I knew somebody. I already had the certification, so I was already in. But so that really there's not really a story to tell behind that.
Okay. But then now it's been, how many years already? 2018, 2020.
Yeah.
It's like what?
In a while.
6 years?
Yeah.
How is it like getting paid to do what you want to do? And like, what advice do you have for people who want to get into fitness and be a fitness and get paid to be into fitness,
I really don't look at it as a source of income. I really don't.
Really?
So when it comes to fitness, I kind of take all money and just put it off to the side. I don't even think about money. You know what I mean? So like if we're doing payroll for the gym or something like that, or if I'm thinking about how much I should get paid for doing a one-on-one session, I have to do those numbers, obviously, but it's not, I don't really take a whole lot of time in trying to figure out exact numbers. I just kind of go half down the middle on a lot of stuff just because I really love doing that. So I don't really want to spend a whole lot of time on the finances. You know what I mean? And plus we do have a CFO too. So yeah, a lot of the stuff is taken care of as far as finances go.
So but how do you get about into getting, like, I know you don't want to get into the nitty gritty, but then like obviously like to keep the business going, you got to keep money pumping in, right? But how, before that can even happen, how did you even, like, you say you got in because of a childhood friend, and then you just kept going from there. But how have you kept the business afloat though?
I think it's through insurance. Like
regular insurance?
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's from insurance. It's the same way like these other global gyms are able to stay open and stuff. It's purely through insurance.
Can you go into
I'm not even really gonna get into those details, man. But it's like, you know, stay well, take care. A lot of that stuff subsidizes the.
I get what you mean now. Yeah. Okay, because I was like, what do you mean by insurance?
So a lot of it's like getting into meetings, getting to know people, working for better rates,
right?
For people who are under those insurance rates and stuff like that.
Right. So just to be sure I'm understanding, and the viewers can understand it too. So it's like basically you partner up with an insurance company, and then they subsidize the. You get paid through the insurance companies because now their clients, the people insured under them go to your gym either for at no cost to them because it's already covered under insurance, or the cheaper rate. That's essentially how you're going about it.
They're trying to essentially help healthcare on the back end so that people don't have to go in and get a dialysis machine connected to them for the next 20 years. We should probably go ahead and pay this little cheap $120 gym membership now. That way we don't have to pay $580 a month for them 20 years from now to get kidneys transplanted and their blood so it's all just a business.
Right. But it benefits us too. Recently diagnosed. One of the reasons why what kickstarted me going from 285 when we were together at PNC to now, I think
we weren't together.
No, we were together.
Yeah, we weren't together.
We were working together.
We worked in the same establishment.
Like I tell people.
People are going to take these clips and just start cutting.
Don't worry, Tanya. I ain't going anywhere. He ain't going anywhere. But when we were working in the same establishment,
there you go. Okay.
Together. I was weighing 285, 290 pounds, man. You see me snacking. I remember this man would go to ABC store and I say, hey, can you get me cookies and cream Hershey's bar? I was and to me now being around 238 some pounds, one of the reasons that kickstarted was me finding out I'm diabetic. And I'm like, oh man, I'm only I just turned 26 at the time, and I'm like, I'm too young I like to joke that I'm old, but I'm too young to be type 2 diabetic. I got to reverse this.
What's type 2?
I think that's the one you get from eating too much sugar and too much.
It's not hereditary though, right?
No.
So you got the non-hereditary?
No, I got the one where all my life choices bit me in the ass.
Okay.
So I'm like, okay, time to reverse this.
So you need to do some metabolic conditioning then.
Yeah, man. That's why.
So you need to come on to the gym then, is what you're saying?
Dude, I'm already at what? Hey man, have you watching my diet? You follow me on my Instagram stories. I eat the same crap every day, dude. Freaking chicken breasts and broccoli. That's all I eat.
That's good.
And I hate my life. And my bills have tripled. Being healthy is so expensive.
It is, yeah.
Like my bill.
It can be. Mm-hmm.
I went to Cost You Less and I paid $80.
That's just being here on Guam. That has nothing to do with being more healthy.
Fair, but it's still expensive.
Yeah, it is. It is. I agree.
But as we're nearing the wrap-up point, what advice do you have to people who want to enter the fitness industry or the filmmaking scene? Like, what advice do you have to them in terms of just starting it? Because the number one thing is just start. What advice
Right.
do you have?
I figured the best way, like a filmmaker or someone that can just get started into getting into fitness or anything like that, the first thing they should do is probably get a house and own property.
Okay, dude, my camera's like that. This setup, it's like
I could bring it around full circle. I could bring it around
my
full circle.
my
if you want.
setup's $1,300, bro.
Uh-huh. No, I could bring it around full circle if you want. Okay, so here we go. The first issue that someone who is getting into filmmaking or anything, let's take filmmaking out of it or take fitness out of it completely, is just taking care of your basic necessities. So like, how am I going to eat? Where am I going to live? How am I going to take care of like the things that are important to me? And so I think the best way to do that is to own the property that you're currently living at, wherever that is, and then start to build off of that and own other properties.
But what if I'm 16?
If you're 16, then you can still start to learn the process of doing it, because it's something that's not taught in school at all. So like your high school teachers and your college professors are not going to teach you the importance of owning your own property and owning the place that you're currently living in first, and then building off of that. And then figuring out whatever else you want to do in life once your basic necessities are figured out. Because if your basic necessities are figured out, then you could pour 100% of your passion into whatever that is. But if you're constantly worried about where my next meal is coming from or how am I going to pay the rent this month, then that's actually going to take away from your passion. You know what I mean? So you can't pour everything you need to pour into whatever you're interested in, because you're just constantly worried about money.
So are you against the starving artist connotation, the starving artist trope? You know what I mean? Because like usually like, and we talked about this previously, like when my back was up against the wall, there was no choice. You got to make it succeed.
Well, this is a part of getting your back out against the wall.
Right, but like your back, like, you know what I mean though? Like because I had
So if
no
I grew
money,
up, if I was 16
Yeah.
and I grew up with no money, then if I start learning about how to own my property, then when I turn 18, I'll be in a lot better space. And so if you're 16, you're watching this, you're like, well, what can I do now? Well, you can start learning about how to get your credit score up when the time comes. When I turn 18, how do I get my credit score up? What things do I need to do? What's the best credit cards to buy? What sort of debt to income ratio is good for that creditors look at in order to get approved for mortgages and stuff like that? These are like adult stuff that people don't think about until they're like 37, like me, about to retire from the Army, and it's too late, almost, in a sense. You know, it's not
Right.
too late, but I know people who got into what I'm talking about when they were 18 and 19, and I compare my life to theirs, and it's vastly different. And so, like, that is literally the most important thing I can give for anyone out there who's looking to get into anything, fitness, filmmaking, photography, anything, is you have to own the property that you live on. You can't pay rent for the rest of your life. Like, you literally have to at least own the property you stay on, and then you can build off of that. You can either own another property, and then the rent fees that you get off of that property, you can pay for your mortgage on the original property and just start to build off of it.
That's very interesting because like normally I was expecting like, well, actually no, I gotta remember who I'm talking to. It was like any other person probably give like some generic like.
No, that's
you
the
know,
most important thing I
yeah.
could give. Because look, I can tell you about camera settings, f-stops, like ISO, native ISOs for all the cameras. But that doesn't bring any value to anybody that's watching this.
Right.
It really doesn't, because most people don't own the house they live in. You get what I'm saying? So,
No,
so
yeah.
this is advice that you will hear nowhere else. I want to
Right.
give advice that you will hear nowhere else. No one will tell you like the first thing you should do in life. So if I'm giving advice to a 16-year-old, my advice is 101, you have to own your property that you live on. This should be step number one in life. This is what my grandma taught me when I was growing up, but I just never listened. Right? So my grandma was a landlord here on Guam. She owns like, 2 or 3 other properties. And so she was into real estate, and she bought properties and rented them out, leased out other buildings and stuff like that. That's the stuff she was into. And she really didn't like press it that hard with the siblings, my parents. And so in return, they really didn't press it on to me. So a lot of the things that I was focused on was like college, either college or military, stuff like that.
Interesting. Because like, yeah, and especially now too, the housing market's very, very, it sucks.
Does
Especially here in Guam, man. Like, I'm telling you, I live in a 2-bedroom.
It doesn't suck if you own it.
It wouldn't. But like just
Yeah,
getting
you know what I mean? Like, just think about it on the other end, on the other side of the table.
right.
Like, whenever the housing market sucks, it sucks for the people renting.
But how
It
about for
doesn't
new
really
owners,
suck
though?
for the people that own it.
But how about getting it? Okay, so for context, I live in a 2-bedroom,
Yeah.
$1,000. It's not including power, water, Wi-Fi, none of that.
Right.
It's just, and it's a 1 bath.
Mm-hmm.
So how would I get about, what would your advice be? I'm 16.
Mm-hmm.
Mentally, I'm still 16.
Right.
What would your advice be? Like, okay, how would I get, the concept of owning this house is daunting. The concept of owning this, whatever, condo, house, even land, with nothing on it is very daunting. It's very like, this is out of my scope. It's out of my range. How would you go about, if you could restart, if you had the knowledge you had right now, what would you be doing to getting this property?
I would be learning the market and learning about how much rent is in my general area. I would be learning about how much properties go for, like if I wanted to buy it. So if I know that this property is $430,000, does that include the land that comes on it? Or is that just the building? Or how does that work? You know, a lot of the stuff you just don't even know how it works. So like if I wanted to go out and buy a house, how does that process look? At 16, you can start to research that stuff. That way, when in a mere 2 years, which is really quick, that'll happen really fast.
Mm-hmm.
You already know what the process is, and you're super educated on it. You could talk to a real estate agent with like confidence, you know, and you already have, like as soon as you turn 18, you could already have a pretty decent credit history by 19, right? So it only takes a good year to generate a decent credit history.
Right, and if your parents are smart, they would put you on their credit card at the age, because you could, like, if I would,
And start to build it early.
yeah, at 16, like you could put your kid on your
There
credit
you go.
card.
Yeah.
They could have an 850 credit score by the time they're 18. I don't think so, but like it could be in the high, like 700s. It could be high 800s. You could get a good low. 18, shoot. I didn't get a credit card till I was like 21, and that bit me in the butt. I didn't start building credit from there until then. And then now I'm qualified for a lot of stuff because like I did some things. But had I started at 16, I have a friend who's in the Air Force. He bought his first house already at the age of 23.
With a what credit score? 850?
I don't know, but it was in 7, 8, around there at least, because the mom put him as a co-signer on the credit card at the age of 16, 17 when we were in high school.
What nationality is he?
Oh, he's Pinoy.
Okay. But stateside?
From Saipan, dude.
Oh, from Saipan.
The-
Okay.
That's we're not all living under rocks there, Kay.
No, hey, look, man, I got to ask demographically because
No, I
a
feel
lot
you.
of the stuff is demographic based.
Right. No, and
because like if I was going to talk to you about what you just explained to me, that sounds like some white people stuff.
it is.
This is what white people teach their kids, but
It
this is
is.
not what Filipinos are teaching their kids. They're teaching them to go to church, teaching them to stuff that doesn't even generate income.
right. And for context, the stepdad's white, so that's
We're done. Yeah, we're done.
that's. Anyway, he's Pinoy, but like,
I'm done.
no, I'm done. But but to bring it back full circle, right? Like I think the one takeaway we can really have, like, is invest in your primary needs, which is shelter, food, and that's pretty. Once you got your shelter figured out, I think the next step would be food and water.
What's the basic thing that people who are 17, 18, 19, what's the biggest problem you see here, just here on Guam? Because people on Guam are watching this, right?
Yeah.
So I say the biggest issue is that people don't move out of their house till they're like 23. Sometimes they're still living with their parents. They're 30 years old.
I don't know. I moved out at 18, so yeah.
Yeah. It was very rare though, right?
Oh yeah.
So most of the people, if I was to drive down Liguan Terrace, I would see 8 cars outside of each house.
Yeah.
Because the entire family lives in one house, right?
Yeah, and a lot of them.
It's literally because no one taught the kids how important it is to go out and buy their own home.
Right. And
Or how to do it. Like, let's talk about how important it is first, and then let's talk about how to do it.
Right. A lot of them are driving nice cars. They're driving nice Civics.
Yeah, they
but
got
then
Tundras, they got Tacomas, brand new.
right. But then they're still living with
60K.
mom and dad.
So it's easy to go out and buy a car because, you see your other friends go out, they buy cars. So you ask them how they get the car. I went out and I got a loan for the car.
Yeah.
But no one talks about homes like that. You notice
No.
that? They always talk about like rims, how they got their rims or the new engines or whatever, but no one ever talks about homes ever.
Right? No, and I agree. This is the one thing the homeboy talked to me about. Like, you gotta make it tangible. This goal tangible. I remember before I was like when my annual salary became 50 grand, 55 grand, whatever it is.
Mhm.
I said when I was like in making minimum wage at Macy's, I was like, man, if I just made 50 grand, I think my life would be pretty good. I'll live it. No, it didn't.
It didn't.
It didn't solve anything. Now
It can go up to 80 or 90. It still wouldn't.
No,
it still wouldn't make a difference.
I'm still broke. But these conversations about financial literacy, about making it tangible. Like, I remember when I said, when I have a brand new car, I know I've made it. My CHR is 2019, but to me, it's a new car. I got it in 2020.
The main thing is your rent.
Right.
That's your main cost every month is your rent.
Right. Had I known,
cut that out. Just cut that out completely and just own the property you live on. That way, boom.
Had I known a lot of that though, growing up, like it's possible to own a house at the age of 22, 23.
Definitely.
Because a lot of people don't realize this. If you surround yourself by people who actually have it at that age, then you realize it's not a far off dream.
You also realize it's important.
Yeah.
You place more importance on it too.
Right, especially because
you're
they're
around people who place importance on rims, then your importance is probably going to be rim related or car related or something like it was for me. So like when I was young and I was growing up, a lot of people were buying the latest car and putting like nice rims on it. So that's what became important to me.
No, and I agree, man. Shoot,
it's terrible. It's terrible. So that's why when you ask me about the filmmaking stuff and the fitness stuff, I think that it's way more important. It's way more important to just start out owning your own home. That should be number one for everyone. Everyone watching this, like if you're 18, your goal should be to own your own home. That should be like 101, step number one. Then you can start building off of that.
Right. And I also think people got to realize it's actually attainable. Because and to put it into like the filmmaking aspect, I said, oh man, if I ever see a cinema camera. I mean, I saw Mo with the Blackmagic 4K, and I held it in my hand. Now I still suck at filmmaking. I don't make that much money off of it. We're shooting on a C300 right now. Mm-hmm. Then I'm like, it's tangible. So to put that concept into owning a house, if it's possible for me to hold and own this Blackmagic 4K, it's only $1,200, but in the grand scheme of things, to me, that was a lot of money. I own it. Now, what's the next step? Me making 50 grand, I made it. Now what? Right? So these things are tangible. You just got to work towards it. So how come that thing is not? Why can't I apply that same concept to owning property?
Yeah, it's just because we weren't taught that when we were young.
No.
When we were young. No. So, these cameras and these cars, none of them appreciate.
No.
This house that we're shooting in, next year it's not going to be worth the same. It's going to be worth more, and you don't even have to do nothing to the house. Now, if you do something to the house, then it's even more. Mm-hmm. Like, isn't that crazy? You put new tiles, even worth more. You do a renovation in the kitchen, it's worth even more money.
Yeah.
So it not only appreciated just the regular amount of appreciation, but even more because you had someone come do the appraisal. It's crazy.
Right.
You can't do an appraisal on a camera. You can't, or anything else that we bought throughout our lives, that are just all liabilities.
Yeah. Unless you're like me and you buy cheap and you sell high. Hey, if you bought equipment from me, it's well taken care of. But it's worth every penny, trust. But to get into it, the question I have, okay, the one thing, because I'm debating, right, as I'm saving up my money, I'm debating, do I invest into a condo or do I invest in actually...
I'd get a duplex.
A duplex, right?
I get a duplex because I can close on a house that's all one price. And then I can live in one and then rent the other one. And then the rental from the one pays for the both. You're living for free. That's the best advice I can give anybody. Get a duplex. And once you get a duplex, get a fourplex. Once you get a fourplex, get an eightplex. And then hopefully you get an apartment. That's where the money's at. Mm-hmm. You get an apartment, you're pretty much set. Then you can go out and be a filmmaker. You know what I'm saying? Like, wouldn't you rather be a filmmaker with like $200K in the bank than like zero? Like, how much easier would it be for you to go out and just network with people with $200K just in your bank? You're not looking for people to drop capital on this project because you're just going to drop it. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you have the capital.
Right. But okay, so that now my next question would be to go into the starving artist mindset, right? Because a lot of us are young and dumb. So let's be real, not a lot of oh, shoot, I like to joke I'm old.
I'm
still
old.
young.
I'm old and dumb.
I'm young. I like to joke that I'm old. I'm still young. But so I'll take all of this advice and watch me buy a R5C next.
Right.
But
Tomorrow. You're going to be on. Put it in the cart.
I'm gonna take out a new loan and everything. But for those of us who already didn't get the property, didn't do any of that, we're living on rent, and we stupidly bought a camera, right? Do you think that you're back against the wall, you not owning your house, you worried about where rent's gonna come from or food? Let's say rent's covered, you're okay with that. Somehow your day job covers for your rent. But you're like me, and you're like, oh crap, where do I get my next meal from? I'm tired of 4 for 4s from Wendy's. For me,
it's getting dark. It's getting dark now, isn't it?
Yeah. For me, I was like, okay, my back's up against the wall. Either I stay eating cup ramen, one kimchi bowl for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or do I find my work and do I get myself out of this hole that I dug myself in? What advice do you have for that?
I think anyone who is maybe in that situation, I don't know.
Dude, I was poor.
Yeah, no, I get you. So, like, if anyone's in that situation, right, I think that the first thing they need to do is get their credit score up. That's number one. So, if you don't have a credit score, you have no buying power. That's literally number one. Like, if you don't have no credit score, how are you going to go out and get a mortgage from the bank to buy a house? So, your only goal should be to go out and try and get as many credit cards as you can and try and build them up to about 25%. That's just real talk. Just go out and get 6 credit cards with like $2,000 each and just put 25% on them on each one. But you have to make sure you can pay off each one every month. You know what I'm saying? So it's only going to be like $40 for each one.
Yeah.
But you have to think of what are you doing on the back end. So what I'm doing is my interest rates are going towards my credit score going up so I can purchase the house. So that's literally what I'm thinking in the back of my head. I'm not really trying to like spend the money or do anything like that. No. You could be using the money just on gas or food or groceries or whatever, just daily costs.
Yeah, I figured out one of my credit cards, the Discover credit card that I got, I can PayPal, right?
Yeah.
I can use it to do a PayPal payment. So, okay. And that still gives me like a cashback reward.
Right, yeah.
So what I'd be doing is I pay off the credit card, I PayPal my friend.
But keep 25% on it.
Oh yeah. You got to keep a little bit in there to help rack your credit history, your credit score. Excuse me. So I'd be doing that, but now I'm like, okay, snap. I'd be getting the benefits. I'd be getting that, and then I got 2 credit cards to get with the United mileage points because we only have United out here in Guam to travel doing back home and stuff.
Yeah.
So then I could get status and everything. That's another trick. Learn your credit cards. Learn the rewards on, because most credit cards have a reward anyway, whether it's cashback or miles.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing that we want to.
Yeah, everyone's got to do their own research on each one, but the main goal is to get your credit score up. Whatever means possible, just get it up.
Yeah, and then if really like, and again, if your minimum payment's $40, at least pay $45 because the $40 is only your interest. And the one thing I want to highlight too is like, okay, you're in the starving by having like some buffer in there. Eventually, you'll get a gig that can pay off your credit card. I don't say, I'm not saying don't spend more than you make, but in certain circumstances, like if you're really broke, at least you have some cushion in there to like save your butt.
Right.
That's like that saved me when I was like starving and everything. I'm like, okay, I can make the minimum payment and then some, and then I'll just slowly pay this off eventually. So that way I'm not in the red.
Right.
Or, plus I get the rewards. But anything else?
Own your own home. That's it. Own your own home.
There we go.
That's it.
Anything else you want to say other than owning your own home?
Own your own home. That's it. Hey, I'm telling you, man, life will be so much easier if everyone just owned their own home. Like I really can't stress that enough. That's real. I'm being for real.
And I'm just laughing because it's just a fun conversation. But
I appreciate y'all having me though.
And I'm taking this seriously even though I'm smiling. If you're not smiling, you're doing it wrong. In the words of Alex Wasabi. But like we're friends too. That's why I'm also laughing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I appreciate you coming down, spending your time. This is going to be the longest episode, I think. 1 hour, 20.
Don't say that.
No, man. It's
So you
long.
gonna make me edit this too, huh?
No, I don't have money to outsource you.
You have to cut this out too.
That one's easy. I'll just look. I'll just hear the in the background. Okay, there we go. We're gonna.
See, this dude always got to do that.
What?
We're good.
Thank y'all for watching. Stay cherry cello. Until next time, don't forget to subscribe to the Patreon. Oh, Patreon. Don't forget to, I don't have that yet. Don't forget to click the Amazon links down below. Spend some cash on there so I can get some kickback. Thank y'all for watching. Until next time, adios.